Hello, I'm Janine Eden, the Director of the Plimpton-Carver Regional Triad and the Resident Service Coordinator for Hall Keene Management, where I oversee 3 senior housing communities, one located in Plimpton, Marshfield, and of course, Carver. I would like to welcome you to our new program, Senior Safety. Since everyone is practicing social distancing and staying home to help keep themselves safe, the need to develop a program to bring valuable information and resources out to our community arose. As a cooperative effort between the Plimpton-Carver Triad, Plymouth County District Attorney Tim Cruz, Plymouth County Sheriff Joe McDonald, and of course, Area 58 Community Access Media, we are so proud to present this program. The Senior Safety Program has been designed to be educational, informative, and lighthearted. It will cover a wide array of topics, which will include public safety, supportive services, and community interests. The topics we chose to explore for this episode are contact tracing scams and other recent scams that have surfaced in our area during COVID-19. Our guests for this segment are Plymouth County District Attorney Tim Cruz, and of course, Mary Vaca, a resident of Carver and a member of our triad. Now I would like to welcome District Attorney Cruz. Welcome.
Hi, Janine. How are you today?
Hello.
Thanks for having me here today. Hi, Mary. How you doing?
Good.
It's good to see you. It's great to be part of this program that we're doing, throughout the county right now. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Tim Cruz. I'm the Plymouth County DA, and I think we can certainly all agree that we are in unprecedented and trying times right now. So in an effort to slow down the pandemic, rather than actually come to COAs, we're doing a lot of the issues and a lot of things on Zoom and GoToMeetings, trying to get the word out as to what's going on. So we've been talking a lot, quite honestly, about the pandemic and a lot about contact tracing and a lot about things that may come from that. So if people don't completely understand what contact tracing is, basically what it is, it's the process of identifying people who've come in contact with somebody who has tested positive for COVID-19. And Mary, I know you're interested in how that all works.
Right. Can you tell us what makes it work?
Well, basically, a few months ago, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts created the COVID-19 Community Tracing Collaborative, and that's to help support local health departments in every community. Contact tracers have been hired to work with people who have tested positive for COVID-19. Contact tracer instructs those people who are infected with COVID-19 as to the proper quarantine methods and the measures one must take to keep from spreading the virus. The contact tracer will keep in touch with the infected individual and will also be monitoring their symptoms every day. The contact tracer will also ask the infected individual for a list of names and phone numbers for the people that have come into contact with over the past few days while they were known to be contagious. The persons on that list who are provided by an infected individual will get either a text message or a call from either the local health department or the mass COVID team to let them know that potentially they've been exposed.
Okay.
So, Tim, I try never to give out my personal information. Is it okay to give my personal information to the contact tracer?
Yeah, Gina, obviously that's something we talk about at our senior luncheons every year. We talk about keeping close to our vest all of our personal information. And it's really important that we do that. And because of the fact that we've seen some scams that are related to COVID-19, that's still something that we need to be mindful of. But it's my understanding, though, that the contact tracer who calls you is not going to ask for any identifiable personal information, such as your date of birth or your social security number. The Mass COVID Collaborative will collect some personal info, such as your COVID-19 symptoms, your test status, your health, isolation and quarantine plans, your age, your gender, and your basic needs, just to create really this record of information. Will be like your personal medical record. And due to HIPAA laws, your name and information can't be released to the public, and all the personal information collected by the Mass COVID Collaborative is protected in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Fair Information Practices Act.
Oh, thank you. Also, you mentioned that you've seen a few contact tracing scams surface lately. Can you talk about them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, since the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak, law enforcement officials across our county, across the Commonwealth, really across the world, have seen a significant increase in scams and cyber scams, all related to misinformation and fear associated with the COVID-19 epidemic. Every time there's a tragedy, every time there's something terrible, there are people out there who are trying to take advantage of unsuspecting people, trying to steal their vital personal information and their financial information. So even though we're all working hard every day to stay healthy, we also have to practice, grow that same vigilance to make sure that every time we pick up our phone, every time we go answering texts, that we're sure that what we're doing with our info. There's basically two different contact tracing schemes. One's over the phone, and the other's through a text message. The contact tracing scheme over the phone kind of works like this, because they're all a little bit different. The scammer's going to call you and say something to the effect of, "Good morning. According to our system, you are likely to have been in close proximity to somebody who has tested positive for COVID-19. This means that you now need to self-isolate for 14 days and take a COVID-19 test." Now, obviously, if somebody called you up and said that to you, your first question is and they tell you that somebody is tested positive, you're going to ask, well, who is it? And they're going to tell you at that point that due to HIPAA laws, the federal medical information protection laws, they're not allowed to share that information with you, and that's confidential. Then they're going to keep talking to you, and they're going to say, listen, because of the fact that you were in the vicinity of somebody that's contagious, you need to be tested within the next 72 hours. And they're going to need your mailing address because they're going to send you a kit. And they will charge your credit card a one-time payment of $50. If you question that, they're going to tell you that the testing is not free. This is a one-time fee of $50 for the kit for the test results. And then if you continue to say no, they're going to start pressuring you. And at some point when you say this should be free because you did nothing wrong, they're going to start threatening you with penalties for not complying. Very similar with a contact tracing scam through a text. You're going to get a text from somebody who's going to say someone who came in contact with you tested positive or shown symptoms of COVID-19 and recommends you self-isolate and get tested. More at, they'll give you some information. They will provide you a link in the text after the more at that really is going to appear to be legitimate. Don't forget, these people are really good at what they do, which allows you to click in order to obtain more information. But really be cautious. Even if you take that bait, even if it looks like it's coming from the Mass COVID team, clicking on that link may download software onto your device, giving scammers access to your personal and your financial information.
So Mary, you have a question?
Yes, I do. District Attorney Cruz, if I do get a call from the tracer, how do I tell if it's not a scam?
Yeah, Mary, there's 5 things we should look for when we get a call from one of these individuals or we get a text from. 1, real contact tracers are not going to ask you for money. Only scammers are going to insist on money. And lots of them, don't forget, as soon as they start talking about if you don't have any cash, you can get me a gift card, money transfer, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, that should get your antenna up. Something's not right.
Right.
Contact tracing does not require your bank account or your credit card information. So once again, be careful. Never share your account information with anybody that contacts you and is asking for it. Legitimate contact tracers also are never going to ask you for your Social Security number. Never give any part of your Social Security number to anybody who contacts you. If you're making contact, if you're calling government agencies, that's one thing. When they're calling you asking for, think of it for a second. They've already got your information. Why do they need it? Immigration status does not matter for contact tracing. Legitimate contact tracers will not ask, and if they do, it is definitely a scam. Legitimate contact tracers also will not send you any links in an email or a text. So if you receive a link and you click on it, you run the risk of downloading malware onto your device. But let's keep in mind, talking to a legitimate contact tracer does help spread the COVID-19 infection, and reporting scammers helps stop them as well. So if you receive a suspicious call or a text, please report this fake contact tracer to the Mass COVID-19 Collaborative and go to the Federal Trade Commission at ftc.gov/complaint.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Could you tell us if you've heard of any other types of COVID scams going around?
Sure, Janine. I mean, earlier this year, the Massachusetts Senior Medicare Patrol Program sent out an alert warning seniors to never accept any form of COVID-19 testing from anybody other than a treating licensed physician or from a state-designated testing site. Scammers have been known nowadays to be going door to door and approach people in public with an offer to test them for the coronavirus. They give you a false positive test, and then they offer to treat you immediately. Through this scheme, scammers have illegally obtained Medicare numbers and money, and may have gone so far to bill Medicare for the sham testing, treatment, and supplies.
Wow. Okay, so I heard that the grandparent scam has resurfaced in the area. Are you aware of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it never really goes away. It always is unusual. It always has different tweaks to it.
Wow.
But basically, for those of you that don't know what the grandparent scam is, usually it works something like this. Usually you'll get a phone call in the middle of the night. Now, we all know if somebody calls you in the middle of the night, it's not good news. So you're going to be startled, and you're going to pick up the phone, and you're going to say, you know, who is this? And you're going to hear something, whatever the story may be. Grandma, grandpa, you know, I just got arrested. I need your help. Don't tell my parents. They're going to kill me. You know, or they'll say they've been robbed, or they'll say they're in the hospital and they need money for medical bills, or they're stuck overseas. A whole variety of issues. The one that's related to the COVID that we've actually seen, unfortunately, work in our county was an individual proclaiming to be the grandson of a woman, said that he and his buddy were driving in New Hampshire. This is the beginning of COVID, probably April of this year. Driving in New Hampshire, and he got into a car accident, and somebody got hurt. And as a result of being in a car accident, somebody got hurt, he was being charged with a criminal offense for the way that he drove the car. But because of COVID, the court was not going to be open for another week. So therefore, he was going to be held in custody for a week in jail unless he came up with $8,000 cash. So obviously, you know, these conversations go back and forth, and the grandparent is going to be so startled by that phone ring in the middle of the night. Many times they'll say, Johnny, is that you? Susie, is that you? And now the scammer, because part of the progress is here, once they get the name of your grandchild, that's the next, that leads them to the next step.
Wow.
But
Mary?
wouldn't I recognize my own grandson's voice?
You know, that's a great question, because we'd all like to believe that we're able to do that. But remember this. First of all, these scammers are really good at what they do. And if you did recognize that it wasn't your grandson, you could certainly hang out. They would go to the next person, because they're not just calling you. They're calling people en masse. So, but when they do call you in the middle of the night, they're catching you off guard. You know, they're startling you in the middle of the night. You know, they prey on the fact that you're feeling your nerves may be frayed. And then as soon as you blurt out Johnny or Susie, or whatever the name may be, they will then hand it off to somebody else, somebody that your grandchild has supposedly entrusted to help them, whether it be a doctor or be a lawyer who's going to help them get out of this problem. So now you're no longer talking to your quote-unquote grandchild. You're not talking to an individual who's trying to help him, whose voice you wouldn't recognize. And this attorney or this doctor, depending upon which scenario is going on, is going to be the person that talks to you about the amount of money you need to come up with. Like up in New Hampshire in that car accident case, the $8,000 number that they wanted in cash from this senior in order to make sure that their grandson wouldn't be held on bail during the pendency of the next court date, which was closed because of COVID. So, you know, they'll give you instructions. They'll tell you exactly what to do, what not to do. They will tell you to go to banks. They will tell you to go to, you know, supermarkets. And a lot of our banks and our supermarkets also, I think they've all been trained. They've trained the people that work there that if somebody comes in there, say you get $25 out every Friday for spending, and all of a sudden you went in there on a Monday and asked for $8,000 cash, they would ask you, are you okay? Is something going on? They do that. They're trained very well. In this instance, which happened in our county, that woman said, I'm fine. I just need to get the money for a one-time thing. So, you know, these conversations go back and forth. There are phone calls back and forth. They demand that you don't call anybody and talk to anybody else. And believe it or not, in that case that I'm talking about, they actually sent a courier to her house to pick up the money in cash, and picked up $8,000 cash at the end of this woman's driveway. And this guy's wearing a mask, of course, because it's COVID, right?
Right.
So it's very difficult to ID these people. So, these are the things that continue to go on that we have to be aware of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, so what should I do if I receive one of these calls?
If somebody calls you or texts you or a message or an email claiming to be a grandchild, claiming to be a friend, a family member, and they sound desperate for money, you should, A, resist the urge to act immediately, no matter how dire the story sounds. You need to verify the caller's identity. Try not to say the names of your family members or your grandkids. Don't ask, or you should try to ask them questions that a stranger is not going to have the answer to. Reach out to family members and ask them what's going on. Call your son or your daughter and say, what's going on with Susie or Johnny? It doesn't matter what they tell you. You can do that. And as soon as they start asking for cash, for gift cards, for money transfers, this is a scam. Hang up, stay away from it. Because once your money's gone, there's a real good chance you're never going to get it back.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. This is also interesting. Have you heard of any other new scams we should be aware of?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's plenty of scams out there. And one of the other ones that's kicking around right now is also the Social Security scam. And it's telephone scammers who are pretending to be government employees working for the Social Security Administration or sometimes other government agencies. To assist them in their scheme, they're going to email you false documents that look really official via email. And this scam is a form of phishing. The scammer tells you that there's a problem or an issue with your Social Security number or your account and that you owe a debt or a fine. They're going to start threatening you with arrest or pursue other legal action if you don't pay. The scammer will once again ask you to pay the debt with retail gift cards, prepaid debit cards, wire transfers, or cash.
Mr. Cruz, what is your recommendation to how we can protect ourselves from these scams?
Well, the best way that we can protect ourselves is to remain alert and ask questions when people call you up. Always keep in mind that a government employee, no matter what agency they work for, they might call you, but they're not going to threaten you. An employee of the Social Security Administration is never going to suspend your Social Security number. They're never going to demand immediate payment from you or demand that you pay with a fine with cash or prepaid debit cards or gift cards. If you get a threatening call from somebody from an agency, ask to speak to their supervisor. I mean, it's very similar to what we all just went through just in the last few months, the IRS scam, where people were calling you up and just berating you and yelling at you. You owe money to the IRS. If you don't pay, you're going to get arrested. And I often say, I say that at senior luncheons, and I'll say it now. One of the big secrets of law enforcement is that, when the police are going to come and arrest you, they're not going to call you first. They're just going to come and arrest you. So if they're telling you they're going to arrest you, it's a scam. It's not going to happen.
So listen, Amazon, everybody's ordering things from Amazon for Christmas. And I received an email from Amazon telling me that my Prime membership was up. And that my card associated with my Prime account is no longer valid, all right? It wants me to update my information and add a new card. And is this a scam or is this for real?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because we had lots of phone calls on that. And more likely than not, it is a phishing scam. During the pandemic, we've seen an increase in phishing scam emails that contain malware, which is incorporated into them. These emails often contain misleading information and false links. So a few of the phishing scams you have seen in our county pertain to Amazon, Comcast, Netflix, Facebook. They land in all of our email boxes, and some people, unfortunately, do respond to them.
So could you tell us a little more about your experience with phishing scams and how they work?
Yeah, I mean, keeping these scams straight can be really confusing. First of all, it's a phishing scam. That's phishing with a PH, not an F. It's a type of online scam where criminals are going to send an email or a text message that appears to be from a legitimate company. It usually involves, once again, an alarming ruse to startle you, so that you're going to be inclined to follow their instructions and provide your sensitive personal information. These emails and text messages have malware incorporated into them, and they often contain misleading information and false links. So for example, in the Amazon email scam, a person is going to receive an email stating that their Amazon Prime subscription is about to expire, but there's something wrong with the credit card associated with that account. It needs to be either updated or a new card needs to be added to renew the subscription. Now this email is going to look legitimate. The Amazon logo is going to be there. The from box at the top of the email states that it's from Amazon Prime. But when you click on the word Amazon Prime in the from box, a weird looking email address will display. This is a great way to determine whether or not this email is fraudulent and that it's a scam. So keep in mind that any link in this email is probably malware. It's designed, and malware is designed to steal your personal information that you enter into the form that they've supplied to you.
I recently received a text message stating that I had a package being delivered, and the text had a tracking code and a link to set up the delivery options. Is that legitimate?
Now, Mary, this is also a phishing scam. And this type of scam can be very confusing because, as we all know, everybody's shopping online right now. People aren't going to stores. They're just doing it on the computer, on their phone, or whatever. But this type of text message is most definitely a scam. A legitimate company will inform you of your shipping and delivery options at the time that you place your order on the site. They might text you to alert you that your package is scheduled to be delivered or that it's been delivered, but they're not going to contact you in a text to set up the delivery. So we've received reports from people that have received texts from FedEx, UPS, the post office, Amazon, stating that their package is en route. The text looks legit and contains a tracking code, and a link is there that set up the delivery options. This scam, unfortunately, once again, because these guys are good at what they do, is very difficult to detect. And as you may have just and coincidentally ordered something online, you might assume that it's actually legitimate. However, if you click on a link for the tracking code or for a delivery setup, and it brings you to a form that asks for your personal and financial information, be alert and click out of it. This is malware. It's been designed for the sole purpose to steal your information. Remember, they've already got your information. They don't need it again.
Right. Okay.
So if I receive one of the emails or texts and I'm unsure if it's legitimate, what should I do?
If you're not sure whether the email or text is legitimate, then I encourage you to close out of the email or the text immediately, go online and pull up the business website that you made the purchase from, or that's reflected in the text message, and check its validity. So for example, if you're referring to the Amazon scam that we spoke about, go online to Amazon.com. You should sign into your account using the login section on their website, go into settings, and under the category Your Account, select the Your Account or Recent Purchases option. This is a safe and secure way to determine if the email or the text message is fraudulent. Because if there really is an issue with your account, with your order or your delivery schedule, it's going to be reflected right there. So to protect yourself from being victimized, I'm once again urging everybody, be vigilant and always be suspicious. Lastly, anybody that believes that they have been scammed or that their information has been compromised, they need to contact their local police department.
Okay.
Many times people are embarrassed by the fact that they're scammed by these individuals.
Right.
But we have to remember that if we get the word out, although you may have been scammed by somebody who you should not be embarrassed by, you've been scammed by a professional thief. We need to get the word out to everybody else so that they can understand, to be careful and to check out for themselves.
All right, well, thank you, District Attorney Cruz, for taking the time to speak to us today. This is great information and valuable resources for our senior community. Is there some place that our viewers can go to get additional information regarding the resources offered by your office?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on, Janine. Thank you, Mary, for partaking. If anybody has any questions, really regarding what we've talked about today or anything, go to PlymouthDA.com. We have information there, phone numbers there, and opportunity to get information that if you have questions that maybe we didn't answer today, can lead you in the right direction so that we can make sure that, people are not being scammed by these thieves and people can keep their information so that it doesn't get stolen from them. So once again, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And let's all stay safe and we'll be through this pandemic before you know it.
Okay.
All right, well, this wraps up this episode of Senior Safety. I would like to thank District Attorney Cruz once again for coming on our program. And I would like to extend a special thank you to Mary Vacher for coming on and asking such insightful questions. And I would like to thank all of you at home for tuning in to watch this show. I look forward to seeing you all again for our next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay well and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holiday, Tim.
You too.